Welcome to the Brotherly Ballers podcast with your hosts, Jack Vickers and Tyler Herman.
Welcome in for another edition of the Brotherly Ballers. We got our first week in the books here, so we're going to kick it back off for our second in a row, starting our streak, our second in a row episode weekly. So we're back to this. We're going to be covering a little bit of the week one fallouts, everybody's teams who they thought were the best in the league when they drafted that went up in flames, a bunch of our unique leagues and kind of initial kickoffs to the season, some waiver priority ads, and there's already injuries, of course, because it's football. But before we get into that, Tyler, welcome in. How you doing?
We're doing good. We had a good week one across the board for me, so I will take it. Week one is in the books and already prepping for week two. Let's do it.
I'll get into my angriness throughout the entire episode, but literally the only league that I didn't win in that was a traditional league was the one against you. So
nice.
I was one away from being undefeated, and I was really excited about that. So that's fine.
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing. Yeah, I was legitimately undefeated except for the Dynasty League. So that was awesome, and I didn't even have a bad week. But no, legitimately, whatever, 8 or 9 leagues and won them all except for that one. So Tankathon, here I come. Week one, I'm out.
Well, no crazy games. We're gonna get just right into everything because I feel like we have plenty to discuss, but maybe we'll bring those back next week. We'll see. Yeah. So for those of you already watching us, congrats, you found us. We're on YouTube. For those of you not, I don't know where you're hearing this, maybe on Spotify, but we're on YouTube too, so you can see our ugly faces while we talk and react to stuff. Yeah. Got up one more sub. I don't know who, but I appreciate you out there, whoever you are. Let us know. 126 now, so we're trying to get to that 150 by the Super Bowl, let's say. Biggest thing is just beyond subscribing is liking and commenting, so we really appreciate that, so we can shout stuff out in the episodes each week. We will cover every single comment, whatever it is, as long as it's something other than hi or an insult. But I digress. Getting into the NFL news side of things, we're going to do a Vikings 60-second synopsis, which I was expecting to be more depressing than it is. But week one reaction, I will let Tyler kind of kick things off here.
Yeah, we took down the Giants 28-6. So, I mean, quick thoughts. Darnold looked great. And overall, it's like, hey, it's the Giants, but I will take it. I didn't expect it to be as dominating of a win as it was. So I don't expect that to be the norm going forward. So we'll see what the rest of the season holds. I know the schedule gets a whole lot tougher from here, starting with this next week against San Fran. But hey, for week one, I will take it. We did what we were supposed to do.
Yeah, I was not expecting that by any means. I was like 50-50 we'd win, but I was expecting it to be an ugly, like, way to go, you won, but like this confirms what's going to happen. Don't get me wrong, I still don't think we're doing anything fancy this season, but it was nice to be like, oh, cool, like there's some pieces there, like Darnold's better than we thought, like maybe he can be serviceable and at least kind of develop some of the other guys. And I was really, really excited about our defense. Andrew Van Ginkel was one of the big offseason signings. I know we have a few others that we'll talk about as we go, but he looked great, obviously, even besides the crazy one-handed pick six. There was some solid pressures and pass rushers in there for him. I think he got 1 sack too. Overall, the defense looked solid. We'll see what happens when we're going opposite extremes. It'd be nice to play a regular team, but we're going from Giants likely picking top 3 next year to the freaking 49ers. They're going to be top 4 in the league. So not ideal to really get a barometer of how your team is feeling, but we'll see. So jumping into week 2, we play the 49ers, and no one was mistaking putting us in prime time because they all know how this is going to go. But we play them at noon on Sunday at home. I will ask this every single week and kind of toss it to Tyler for input, but we win this game if, and we lose this game if.
Yeah, I mean, we win the game if I think we get at least another pick 6. We got to turn Purdy over, I think, more than anything else. Control time of possession is going to be massive. Obviously, if CMC misses, that's going to be huge as well. He's just such a force out of the backfield, receiving and running the ball. But I think we got to turn Purdy over at least twice, and one of those being a pick 6 or maybe a special teams touchdown, and control the clock.
Yeah, I think that's realistic. I put in my version for notes. We win this game if CMC misses, and they also think it's a preseason game and just sit half their starters. That's pretty much my only hope. Yeah. That being said, Jordan Mason could probably make us look rough after how he did last week. So I don't even have hope for that. I think there's going to be – I just hope it's a decent showing. I hope we don't lose by 30-plus and just get embarrassed. Have some good sparks, have a couple of good drives. go from there. So,
Yep.
we have to get lucky with, like you said, probably a turnover, pick six type of thing, and they take care of the ball pretty well, some might say. All right,
Six
well,
6.5. 6.5 right now. Minus
That's
6.5
it.
San Fran. It's only less than a touchdown.
I'd
I
take
might
the
lay
over.
the touchdown. Yep.
Yeah, I would take the over. I feel like it's going to be like a 31-17 kind of game.
Yeah, I can
So
see a 14
that'd be
point.
my pulling out of the nowhere. So, speaking of some spreads and pick'ems and stuff, we're going to go to our NFL pick'em. Quick little recap from week 1 here, and then I will let Tyler kind of cover week 2. But week 1, we had Mac and Joe as the only two going undefeated. The rest of us pretty much had Cincinnati across the board, except for Foster, who had Atlanta. Those teams both lost, so that hurt the rest of us big time. Mac had the Seahawks and the Bills win, both fairly close. And then Joe had the Vikings surprising win and the Saints. So, I mean, if we were going by point spread, Joe murdered it by the biggest wins of the day. So myself, Tyler, Nick all had Seattle at least right. Nate had the Saints, and so did Foster. And then Connor, rough start, got the Bengals losing to the Patriots, and then he had Atlanta losing to the Steelers. So we talked about that as kind of being the trap game, both of us last week, and that it kind of turned out that way. So again, if anybody else wants to get in on this, obviously it's very, very early. If you want to do your week 2 picks, you can let me know 4 teams, because the rest of us are all doing 2 teams per week. So Tyler, what do we got for week 2?
Yeah, week 2, everybody got their picks in earlier. So right now, Jack, I think we're on one of the same games at least. We're going to take Washington over the Giants. So I can see that. Giants just looked really bad. Jane Daniels looked really good. So I'll take that one. Then you're going to go Chargers over Carolina. Nothing wrong with that as well. Don't see many other opportunities for the Chargers to be on the right side of a spread. So I thought about taking that one as well, but instead I went with Pitt over Denver. Same reason. I don't see the Steelers being favored too often. 2 good defenses. That's going to be a coin flip game. Nick's going to go with Baltimore over Las Vegas, and then he's with you. Chargers over Panthers. Nate's going Indy over Green Bay. Chargers over Panthers. Mac is going Ravens over Raiders. Again, Chargers over Carolina. So I'm a big Carolina fan this week. So since I faded that, Foster's going Ravens over Las Vegas, and Washington over the Giants with us. Connor, Ravens over Vegas. Dallas over New Orleans, and Joe's again with us, Washington over New York Giants, and opposite of me, Denver over Pitt.
Ooh, interesting. So you can gain a game quick on the leader this year, who was, I don't want to take shots at him, but he probably doesn't listen anyway. So last place last year. So
there you go.
Pittsburgh over Denver, it makes me a little nervous, but then again,
me too.
To your point, I feel like it's probably one of the only times you'd feel better picking Pittsburgh. So that's kind of what I did with Washington too. They've got a game against the Patriots, but every other week was just like, I'm not picking them unless they surprise us all and go 9-10 wins. So I just I don't feel great. I think it's like a 55-45 split in my head, but I just want to get them out of the way. And I felt like Baltimore was too obvious of a pick, and like I kind of assumed half the league's using them. So the only other one I was tempted by, I will say, shout out with, I think Nate's the only one that picked him. I almost went Indy over Green Bay just with the news Jordan Love's out, but this seems like that stupid game that Green Bay will just win by accident, like without Love and then lose with Love kind of thing, and everybody will be like, oh, we should have done this last week, but like it's a worse team. So that's the only one I have reservations on there. So
yeah, that's fair.
Moving into the Minnesota sports season-long pick'em. So if you haven't heard, they're doing this on ESPN this year. It's free to play. Win some swag. I think this week they were giving out a pretty sick, like red and black pattern camo hat for the one who picked the most wins out of the 16 games. Somebody had 15-1, so we weren't touching that at our 12-4s.
No,
but yeah, so they're gonna do little giveaways throughout the year. I won a Percy Harvin Vikings jersey last year, I believe, for going like 16-0 in 1 week, and it was crazy. So that they gave away that. We much appreciate those. And then they do a bunch of swag at the end of the year for the overall winner. I won that back in 2022. We had the leader last year get 182 as the current record for most in a season. So we'll see if one of us can break that this year. But okay start, not amazing start to the season for us. 12-4.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can catch up at this point after missing an entire week, being down 16 points. So if you want to somehow join, you still can, I think. But we've got 40 participants. And again, I know I put out a video, but I wasn't kidding. Whoever wins this, I'm putting up my own mini helmets. That wasn't a joke. Like whoever wins, I guess you can have your choice, but I'm putting up Breece Hall, Terrell Davis, and Drake London. The winner can have your choice of those 3 second can have the choice of the other two, and third place will get the other one. So
I
that wasn't a joke. You're gonna get some swag, and you're gonna get a signed mini helmet if you take top 3. So the 40 of you that are in it, keep playing. This is up there. Me and Jack are going to be up there, so we can, or don't. I mean, I don't mind keeping my helmets, believe me. So I'm going to make sure I keep at least one of them.
I love that. That's exciting stuff. I mean, it's different because you own them currently. But if you were picking one, which one would be the one that you would pick to save?
I would say Brees.
That's what I assumed.
The only reason I might not pick that, where I might save like a Terrell Davis or something like that, is because I have 2 Breeses. I found one I got one really cheap, and I got one not cheap, so I kind of evened myself out. So I wouldn't hate it if I lost Brees, because again, TD is an awesome one as well. I got a Terrell Davis jersey as well. But Brees would probably be the one I keep, just the most relevant currently. And if he has got an amazing season, the value of that is going to skyrocket into the offseason and into next year. So if you want to resell it, go for it. Otherwise, it's a cool memorabilia thing.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think my JSN one's going up in value yet. I need this break to happen.
Yeah, you hold on to that one.
All right. So week 2, I'm just going to rattle off the ones that, granted, again, I think I changed mine a bunch last week, but this is who I have currently as of Tuesday, and we'll see if they go from there. A lot seem pretty chalky. There's only like 4 or 5 that I really had to think about. So some pretty heavy favorites this week, but Dolphins, Cowboys, Lions, Colts, Jets, 49ers, Seahawks, Commanders, Chargers, Jaguars, Ravens, Rams, Steelers, Chiefs, Texans, and Eagles as the winners. I will ask you which one your difference is, and then I'm going to also cover that same one.
I saw in the notes there as well, but I went through and put these in before I read yours as well. But I'm going to take Arizona over the Rams. I think the Puka Nacua loss will be pretty massive for them. And Arizona was leading for a good majority of the game until they got to a second half collapse. So I think Arizona at home is going to be, at least if nothing else, a good challenge for the Rams. Their defense is obviously not great, but I think their offense can keep up enough with the Rams that it's going to come down to potentially a final possession. So I'm going to go with the home team.
Yeah, I feel the same way, pretty much for all the reasons you said, so I won't repeat those. I just think the Cardinals almost knocked off the Bills after a pretty mediocre game from Kyler.
Yes.
Boring debut from Marvin Harrison. McBride didn't really get involved. The only exciting one, besides Greg Dortch for some reason, was James Conner. And I feel like Kyler is going to have – the Cardinals are going to have bigger passing days ahead of them. So I think that's going to be enough. The Rams aren't the same defense they used to be. So while I expect the Rams to be pissed about barely losing to the Lions and probably come out swinging, I think the Cardinals are also going to be – I talked about this last week. They're going to be better this year than people are expecting after being kind of picking top 5 for the last 2. So them I like as the underdog pick as well. So we'll lock that in. Now then, moving into general fantasy talk, we've got
just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
Swimming upstream, our favorite game to talk about every single week. So those of you that haven't been following, we're picking a 50% or less owned quarterback across ESPN leagues. So it doesn't get involved in our specific league. So if you're like, oh, I'm in Superflex, what about that? Or I'm in a 14-team league versus an 8-team, whatever. It's just 50%. It just makes it easy. So we're scraping the bottom of the barrel since there's a lot of guys owned, it turns out. Week 1 picks, Tyler went first with Baker Mayfield versus Washington. He had 29.6 points and 4 touchdowns. I don't think anybody saw that coming, so that was bananas. I don't think anybody else even had over 3, so yeah, he would have been the most on the week. And then I had Geno versus Denver, only 17.8. He only had 171 passing yards, and he had an interception, so it was a rough day for me, but he saved the day with like 30 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground. So thank God at least he got that, because I'd be looking at like 11 otherwise. So not as good as 29.6, but like very serviceable for a streamer. I mean, that's what we're looking for. So we both started out the season hot. Week 2, we're bouncing back and forth now. So I'm going to do the first pick. So I am taking the game we just talked about, Matt Stafford versus Arizona. I get it that Puka's out. I think he's just going to pepper Cooper Kupp like crazy. I think they'll maybe get the running backs a little bit more involved. They got DeMarcus Robinson, who's an okay wide receiver 3 now too. Colby Parkinson game, I'm calling it right now. I looked at the other options, and the top 2 projected scorers were Justin Fields, who's pretty much announced as a starter week 2 now with Russell still out, versus Denver, and Daniel Jones versus Washington. And I just don't trust either of them. I feel like they're both projected high, and then they'll bomb and finish with like 8. So I'm going Stafford. He's probably not going to be upside with rushing, but he seems safe.
Yeah, I think that's a totally fine call again. And neither of those teams, I don't expect it to be a great defensive game. I expect that to be an offensive game where it's a 27 to 30 point kind of win for either Arizona or LA. For me, mine might be a little bit more of a rushing game, but I'm going to go with Geno against the Patriots. So again, this might be a tough one because New England's just going to want to hold on to the ball and run the ball a lot. Seattle kind of does the same thing, but Geno at least has a little bit of a rushing floor, and I think this is a game where DK really gets going. He got absolutely locked on by Patrick Surtain in week one. But again, Surtain might be the best corner in the NFL. So he had like 3 catches for 16 yards or something like that. So my call right now, DK gets in the end zone twice this week against a much less potent Patriots defense. So give me some Geno. He's got that rushing floor, and I think DK gets in the end zone a couple times, so I'll take him.
You know, that means that Geno has to throw it in the end zone twice, right? That's
I know. I'm good with that. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I can see it. I will be very sad if the guy that I picked last week goes off for you this week instead, but that's about chalk with how this usually goes. So
yeah,
just accept. Not wrong. All right. Oh, so you got some ship it or skip it in here. You hijacked the segment. I'm going to let you run it.
No, it was good. I had a little extra time this afternoon while we were looking at notes. So
I haven't even looked
just
yet,
the fun little
you're
good. Just the fun little overreactions from week one. It's always fun to throw some out there. But I just got 4 of them in here. So first one, Deshaun Watson gets benched before midseason in favor of Jameis.
Oh God, I want that to be so bad. Do you want me to just answer?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say skip it only because I think the Browns will stay trying to hold on to their pride and be like, we can't justify doing it because we've spent so much money on him. But they should do it because what do you have to lose at this point? This is multiple years of him just looking like hot trash. And I don't think that's a overreaction week one compared to last year, how he did. And also Jameis would just be more interesting to watch. You saw Flacco come in here and not be afraid to rip it. And I think Jameis might be able to do that where the Browns have a good enough defense to survive with him. So I really want it to happen. I think it should happen, but I think it won't.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Second one, Bucks are now back to being the favorites in the NFC North after the Falcons after that week one preview.
Do I think that they will win? I'd have to look at like schedules and stuff, but I'm going to still say skip it because I think this is going to be a heavy overreaction of the Bucks looked so good, but I don't believe this is their true self. I think they're probably a little bit maybe better based on this than we expected, but I don't think they're going to be coming out guns a-blazing every week. And I think the Falcons just, unless Cousins' injury is worse than we thought it was, I mean, that'd be the only thing where I'm like, okay, they're done. But like, I also think the Falcons should be much better than how they looked. So I will still say skip it, but it's more of a 2-horse race now than everybody just chalking up the Falcons as auto winners.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but I will say ship it. I'm going to take the Bucks now. I just think they've brought back more pieces, and exactly to your point, Kirk does not look fully back. So I've watched some of the stuff on Twitter and whatnot. He's having a hard time pushing off with some of those throws. So the injury could be tough. So I'm going to take the Bucks now to win the NFC South. Third one for you: is it time to panic on CMC? Achilles tendonitis, possibly miss week 2. That's one of those things that lingers throughout the season. Is it time to panic on CMC?
I'm going to say no because, I mean, you still took him 101. I'll skip it because you're not going to – what else are you going to do? I mean, you don't have a choice.
I mean, you could trade him. You could trade him.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
I think enough other owners are going to be gun shy in a redraft of, like, how much are you trading pennies on the dollar, whereas, like, I'd rather just go down with the ship and hope that he lights it up and is good to go. My only concern now is I think – it's going to be less of just like the volume monster on top of efficiency because like Jordan Mason looked really, really good. And I think they're not going to be afraid to be like, you know what, maybe we can use him a little bit more. They've always been okay with using multiple backs in Shanahan systems. And I think they might just be like, not to the point where it's going to be a timeshare, but enough where like, even if CMC's back and healthy, they might be like, we're going to give Jordan Mason 20-25% touches just to keep him healthy. Because we know the plan is Super Bowl. So,
yeah. But I mean, if somebody came in and said, "Hey, I'll give you Saquon for CMC straight up," are you doing that?
I try not to overreact after how good his week one looked too.
Exactly.
I've been burned so many times by Saquon, so I might be the wrong guy to ask because he gets injured left and right. True. I think I would still hold CMC at this point just because we know that he can be the league winner. But I mean, if this happens again week 2, and then we're talking about week 3 of like, I don't know if he's going to play this week. Like, I think you keep checking in on the pulse of that manager and seeing as it goes.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm with you. I can. It's a hard one because it could linger all year. If you could get something for him, if I could get one of the top 3 or 4 receivers, I'm probably making that deal in like a half PPR, full PPR. That's why I went running back, because I feel like wide receiver, I'm just mitigating my risk and saying, yep, I'll take the receiver.
Yep, I agree with that. I think the receiver will be a little more like consistent.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. And last one, not a ship it or skip it, just because it's fun. And week 1 and tight ends sucked everywhere. But tight end 3 after week 1, Kyle Pitts. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
All we just
cancel it right now. Nailed
every
it.
other tight end bomb the rest of the season. And he will just get there by volume alone. And granted, he did have an okay week despite Cousins and the Falcons imploding. So I will say at least that was a positive. So hopefully
every tight end was terrible.
He looks like when the Falcons win like 31-14 and Cousins has 280. Like, I want to see what that disperses like. So
yeah. The Steelers are a great defense. When we get into a shootout, I want to see what that target share looks like for sure.
I like
it. That's all
fun.
I got.
I like being on the surprise hot seat. That's much more fun. All right, moving into our unique leagues. We'll try to keep these all brief because I know if you're not in this league, you might not care as much. But we try to do enough variety with the guillotines and the best balls and the whatnots, just to have some variety in case you've ever been curious about those types of leagues. So first off, speaking of CMC ruining everything, friends of the show. Oh, that's why you're asking, because you have Saquon. That just clicked in. You son of a bitch.
Honestly, I didn't even think about that. That's funny though.
I thought that was timed. Yeah, Tyler has Saquon.
No, I just made that up.
First league, so that's ironic. Friends of the show, Minnesota Sports, have a listener league this year. So Tyler and I each have our own teams, joining DJ, Matty C, and the Shield, Paul Voldy, with their own teams, along with 8 of their listeners. So we're trying to see if we can kind of be the fantasy gurus coming in and don't really have any knowledge on the experience of these other guys, but we'll see as the season goes. So week 1, really quick, I lost by 2.5 points. Thanks to CMC being locked in my lineup, and I believe Tyler had Jordan Mason, and I couldn't pick up anybody. I wasn't gonna drop. I think I had the Jets defense as the only like movable piece, and I wasn't gonna drop them for like a use check to put in. So lost by 2.5, and I was projected to win by 18, and super fun. I had tough. I had Kyler, Mostert, Marvin Harrison Jr., and London all basically bombed, so I expect them to do better. But I'm very excited about my Kupp. Like, what was it, 3rd round pick essentially. With Puka going down, Kupp was already a monster, so I think that might be amazing. And then I had Worthy and Brian Thomas on the bench, so took shots on rookies, and they're looking good to start off. So I'm optimistic, but CMC could really play, and that would help a lot.
Yeah. I did. I had a great week 1. Most points in the league. Thanks, Saquon, AJ Brown, Jaden Daniels, James Conner. We drafted a good squad, so it was a fun week 1. Week 2, play Voldy. He's also 1-0. Should be a pretty close matchup, but so far we're in first place, so the Gurus are trying to hold it down.
You and Kyle Pitts are just starting off the year hot, let me tell you.
That's right.
I don't even know who I play week 2. I play another Voldy. They got the whole Voldy clan in here.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
We'll see if we can go 2-0, our family versus their family. It's going down.
Yep.
All right. The FFPC, I always want to add another FF in there, but the co-league that we're running, week 1 results, we won with 141 points, and we almost had Aubrey, the Dallas kicker, as our high scorer of the week. So makes it sound bad.
I love it.
A lot of other guys scored high too, but he was just right at the top. So week 2, it looks like we are projected very, very close. Projected to lose by 4, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? I guess like a quick thought or two on X Factor.
Yeah, I mean, truly it might come down to quarterback. He's got Jalen Hurts versus our like Jared Goff, so that's really the biggest advantage. But everywhere else, that projection difference is like 4.5. So really, it's pretty close all the way across. Yeah. I think the only thing we're projected to lose at in areas is like QB and tight end. I love our receivers way more, and I like our running backs way more as well. We just have PPR studs when it comes to running backs, Kamara and things like that as well. Yeah. So I kind of disagree with the projection, but again, Jalen Hurts being projected like 27 versus Goff's like 20 is really the difference in mine. But I think we still come away with a win in week 2.
I feel good about that. I feel like 27, not that he can't do it because of his rushing, but I feel like that's a high bar. Like usually if you see like 22, 23 for the top guys and they've got some wiggle room, but like if you're saying he's got to get 30 to outperform his projection. That seems pretty tough. So if he does anything less than amazing, that's an edge for us there. So we'll see though. All right, moving to the bomb squads and butt cheeks. Reminder, if you're like, what the hell was that name that Jack just said out loud? 10 of us drafted 3 NFL teams. Nothing fantasy involved. We're just going off of best and worst record. The team with the collective 3 teams that have the best record wins half the pot, and the one with the collective 3 that have the worst record, aka most losses, gets the other half. So I've won the losers once. I took second in the losers last year just because there were only 2 of us by some miracle. And this year there's at least 4 out of 10. But for those of you doing math at home, less than 50% is the good way to go. So Tyler and I are both in that. Week 1 results. I'll let Tyler talk about his teams first.
Yeah, I got my 3 teams are the Broncos, the Giants, and the Cardinals. So we're 0-3, baby. We're doing great. We'll take it. Again, the Cardinals collapsed. I appreciate that, and they were my last pick. So again, I do think they're going to be better than anticipated. But Broncos and Giants, neither of them look good. So I'll be excited for them to hold down the fort. 0-3, can't start any better.
Yeah, the only downside for me was the Broncos and Seahawks playing. The fact that the Seahawks only won by 6 makes me feel good, because I think the Seahawks will play much worse teams versus the Broncos. So that's ideal. I went 1-2. All 3 of my teams were playing other bad opponents. So honestly, I'm just happy that I went below 500 versus going like 2-1 or 3-0, something stupid. So this week, my teams are playing the Ravens, which seems like an auto loss for me, which is good. And then the Chargers and Patriots, they're both winnable. So I figure one of my 2 teams will probably win there. If I can come away 1-2 again for now until the schedules get a little tougher, I'll feel fine. Obviously, 0-3 is the goal. Hopefully the Patriots can somehow start undefeated, but we'll see from there. So,
yeah, agreed. Yeah, mine, Denver's got Pitt. So again, coin toss game. Giants have Washington. Coin toss game in a divisional game, but I like Washington there. And then AZ and LA Rams. And obviously I picked AZ to win. So if I can go 1-2, I'll be pumped.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't hate those, that's for sure. We're starting with a lot of bad teams versus bad teams to start, which doesn't feel great. But we're going to come from behind at the end of the season, so it's fine. All right. Moving into Guillotine, the league. If you haven't played in, these are so much fun most of the time. There's an 18-team league, which means your rosters are very, very thin. The draft takes a lot longer, and you're picking people you've never heard of before. But we had some steals and late-round picks last year. Like I had Mostert in like the 11th round or something stupid, and he led the league in touchdowns. So people like that can kind of win you the week pretty easily and keep you alive. The bottom score gets cut each week. I'm going on 3 straight years of finishing the top 3 and never winning. So we're just trying to keep that going so I can keep breaking my own heart. Already talked about post-draft, so we'll just go right into the big question each week of did we survive, which we both did. I was in top 3. Tyler was a different story of
that was not.
We were a little nervous because I was like, you'll be fine as long as Jameson Williams doesn't do. Oh my God, there he goes again. Like,
yeah, Jack texted me about 2 minutes into the game or 2 minutes before the game, and he goes, you are going to survive unless Jameson Williams catches a deep bomb touchdown.
Guess what he did?
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate that.
Survived.
I'm like, I just said, no big deal. It's a good thing that's not what he's known for.
That's all he does on the field. Yeah, he doesn't catch anything else. So.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Luckily, at least 3 other teams bombed. You survived with 67, and one team was down at 57. So I thought their team looked better than it did, but oof, a rough week to start. So
yeah.
So I guess the good players that were cut from that team: Brock Purdy, Jalen Warren, Jonathan Taylor, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Roma Dunze, Amari Cooper. Seems like an okay team for like a 12-man league. So the fact that this was in an 18, I was a little surprised that they didn't score more than 57, but you know, what can you do? So any quick thoughts on like your team specifically, just quick reactions from week 1?
Yeah, I mean, everything needs to improve. Obviously, when you score 67, it's not good. But I still love my receivers. They all just had down weeks, and I'm hoping the Panthers don't continue to look as bad as they did, because otherwise that Deontay Johnson pick is brutal for me. And so, I mean, that's a tough one. And I've got, I need to improve on QB and running back room very quickly, but it's hard when it's this early. Like, I scored 67 points, and that was good for 15th out of 18th. Like, there are still 3 other teams below me. So, I mean, I don't know that I'll go overbidding on any of these guys. Would I love to have JT and Brandon Ayuk? Yes. But this early in the season, it's sometimes just not necessary.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, I guess, before I do my team's thoughts. But, like, do you have strategies overall coming into this? Like, I know it's obviously better to save your money later, and there's always a handful of teams that blow it early just to survive and panic. But does it change based on like who I almost lost week one? Like maybe I need to get somebody just to be safe, or do you just kind of go like, I'm either going to win or I'm going to lose. If I lose in week 2 or week 15, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of to each their own. For me, if I have like a giant need, or there's somebody that's just an absolute PPR monster that comes out early, like I think a year, maybe 2 years ago, it was like Cooper Kupp got cut from the first week team, and I was like, okay, hey, I'm going to spend on this. And a lot of people are tentative to use their budgets early in the year, so you can actually sometimes get them for less. But if I'm looking at this team, there's not a lot of PPR monsters. Ayuk is not a volume guy.
Nope.
Diggs not going to be a volume guy in Houston. He's not going to get 2 touchdowns every single week. Odunze potentially hurt. JT, I mean, didn't look great. So, I mean, like, there's nobody here that sticks out to be like, hey, this is a number one massive volume guy and is going to be a PPR savior for you.
Yep. I cannot feel the same way. I pretty much only go big early on if it's a guy that I'm like, he will be locked in my team when there's like 5-6 people left. Like that's about it. If it's just somebody that's going to be like an RB2, but he's so much better than my RB40 that I have right now, and he's like RB15, I'm like, I don't really care. Like if I feel like I can survive, I've been lucky the past few years to surprisingly, like not planned, but surprisingly have decent teams coming out of the gate and then be able to sit. So I mean, maybe it'd be different if I was like bombing early on, but we'll see. I don't know. My strategy is more so like I look at a lot of those guys and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put out a bid for pretty much every starter that gets cut for the first 5-10 weeks or so. And like, I'm bidding so low that I don't expect to get any of them, but I'm putting on a dollar amount where I'm like, if I get them for this, I don't care that I spent money because it was such a steal. It's partially to play defense where I'm like, I'm going to make sure that nobody slips through the cracks and someone gets like Jaylen Warren for $4 out of their 1,000. I'm like, I'm going to put 8 on him just to make sure if like, I don't care if I don't get him, but you're going to have to spend to do it. So that's my big move. For me, really quickly on my team, Jamar Chase played. Thank God. The drama back and forth was terrifying. I would have ended up being fine, but I was really sweating Sunday morning. I'm like, this is going to be why I lose week 1 because I was stupid and I auto drafted Jamar instead of Amon-Ra, who I wanted because I was changing a diaper. It was a whole thing. So, Jaden Daniels running as much as he did was exactly what I wanted because I feel like that's safe floor. I won't have to worry about quarterback for a while, even if he's not great. Montgomery split with Gibbs. That felt really, really nice. Kupp, having Puka go out and I have Kupp and Guillotine only makes me feel better there. So really the only guys I don't feel great on, McBride should bounce back at tight end. I don't love my flexes because I'm starting Sutton and Algier. They'll be fine for now, but if I can eventually get like another flex RB receiver 3-4 type of thing for like $20-$30 and steal somebody else's like low bench that gets cut, that'll probably help for now. So we'll see. All right.
I like it.
Best ball. This is the easiest one because we don't have anything to do, so we don't have to talk about waivers or moves or whatever. The slow draft finally finished. Only 3/4 of the way through week 1, so that didn't definitely affect any scores whatsoever. I had to look because through the Sunday football, I hadn't checked to see what my score was, and then once the draft got finished, it updated everybody's. I won 155-93, so that was solid. I was like, oh, cool, I won. My best quarterback, despite drafting 2 back-end QB1s, was 12 points. So hopefully
nice.
QB comes around, and we'll see. I don't really have any bench guys that did anything, so it was all my starters doing exactly as planned, but don't know that makes me feel great long-term, so we'll see.
Yeah, mine went well, 157 to 140, and that was without CMC playing. So Josh Allen, Chris Godwin, Ramondre all killed it. So exactly to your point, my starters did what they were supposed to do, and I get this CMC guy back. I'm going to be feeling really good. So like my team is a playoff contender, and we're going for that repeat, baby.
I was going to say, wow, look at us. We were like dead even, but you didn't have CMC, so never mind.
Yeah.
All right, the DFS. Oh, damn it. This is up already.
Yes. This is the best one. This is what I've been waiting for.
Head-to-head. The one that we are just doing for fun this year and definitely for no punishments whatsoever was a sporting rivalry of Tyler versus me. We did the DFS 2 last minute. So last year we had a bunch of people in here and kind of fizzled out as the league went, but we're just going to do it for fun. Hopefully if they start to release some values and stuff, we can give you some of those of like, ooh, I really like this guy this week. Or maybe I'll just start guessing and be like, I project this guy who's low to be good value. I don't know. Jordan Mason, he's probably still ranked low because they don't know if CMC's out. I'll probably have him in my lineups everywhere, even if CMC ends up playing, because he's going to be so damn cheap. So anyways, we'll keep this quick normally on this segment. So week 1 results, Tyler won 125 to 110, both solid showings. I'll try to look and see if we have any matches every week just to see if we're on the same line of thought, but we both had Kamara. He's one of our dudes in PPR. I think he was very undervalued, and I'm sad I didn't get him in more spots, but Kamara had 22. Terry McLaurin killed me. Tyler having the streamer pick of Baker in this lineup too, plus the Evans stack, crushed it. So that pretty much solidified it. So in honor of that, I'm going to try to use this shot glass every single time. But the punishment is going to be, we're going to do a shot of our liquor of choice. And for me as the loser, we got this handy dandy little shot glass as part of my large collection for what I did this week. So we got some very, very high quality Jack Daniels here. And that was almost the full shot. Not quite a full shot, so I'm sorry. But that worked out well. So Tyler, I like it. Tell us any early thoughts that you have for this week.
Yeah, Jack, you enjoy that. Week 2. So values aren't out yet. Those come out on Wednesdays, and we're doing this recording on Tuesday. But early favorite targets, one of the things I always like to do is I try to kind of punt tight end if I can for the most part. I usually don't pay up on that. And so I think a great punt target for this week is one that Jack actually mentioned in preseason this week as well. And so Jack didn't even know I put this in here. Colby Parkinson against Arizona. Cardinals were the worst 32nd in the NFL covering tight ends last year. They didn't have to do a lot in week 1 because I don't think Seattle or whoever they played, can't remember, didn't really have great tight end production. Bills. Kincaid. Didn't do nothing. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't expect that to be the norm. Josh Allen and just ran all over them. So give me some Colby Parkinson, especially with Puka going down. Can't cover Kupp all the time. So I want some Colby Parkinson in my lineup this week, and allows you to pay up elsewhere. And so my second one on that is one I already mentioned earlier. I'm paying up for someone like DK this week. I think he got absolutely shut down. He's not necessarily a diva wide receiver, but I think Gino's going to be like, hey, let's get this guy going. And like I said, I think he gets into the end zone at least once, if not twice. But my prediction is twice. So I'm getting DK and Colby Parkinson in my lineups this week for sure.
Just a couple quick ones because I'm very not prepared. I'm just kind of looking at it while you're talking. But J.K. Dobbins is projected to be only 5,400 this week on DraftKings, and they're playing the Panthers. So deal me in for that if that's really the amount, because I wasn't expecting it, but it looked like he's the guy this week after getting 135 yards in one game. So beyond that, we'll get into more in coming weeks because I'm not seeing any other like real standout guys. But so. Nice. Colby Parkinson, I love. He was already locked in for mine because with Puka going down, I just think Stafford will hyper target 1 to 2 people, and that's it.
Love it.
Hopefully, Jack's not doing the second one next week because I blacked out talking a little bit there. So
I like it.
Going into the matchup recap for Victoria's Secret, and we'll just add my pain. I'm going to go get more liquor while Talia tells you about this. So yeah.
What? I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with this, Jack. I'm 1-0. What are you? That's right. You had to play me, so you're 0-1.
I'm one week into the season is what I am.
You are 1 week into the season, so I beat Jack 107 to 95. So sorry, not sorry. It was a tough one. 95 is not a terrible showing. We're in a half PPR, but 107 is a tough one to beat. So it's not very fun to go against Brandon Aubrey. So. He was obviously in my lineup as well, so not much you can do about that. But week 2, so Jack takes on Al, and then I take on Ryan. So we're both projected to lose, but very close, 101 to 103, 101 to 108. So I don't know, any fun, interesting ones from your lineup for week 2? Mine are pretty chalky, no changes for me.
Mine was, Mostert was the only big disappointment in mine. I think if he would have gotten more than 2.9, that could have closed the gap because he was Mr. like electric big plays last year. The fact that he plays on Thursday night and is questionable, if he somehow plays and Achane, who's also questionable, is out, I love that. But if not, I got Jordan Mason sitting on my bench. So I'm probably going to slide him in and just see what happens, even if CMC plays, because I expect him to be on a mini snap count. Beyond that, it's really just, Ladd McConkey and Brian Thomas both scored 12.5. So, I mean, that's pretty much a wash there. And I don't think anybody else is really coming out of my lineup. So I just have to hope that I get some better quarterback play, because I had Caleb Williams go on Sunday at noon and he got 7. And I was like, oh, man, well, good thing I drafted a quick backup in my late quarterback plan with Jared Goff. And he got 11 in a game that went to overtime that was like a mini shootout. So not ideal. We're hoping we get some kind of quarterback play that's existent. And I think that would have been a lot different. So struggling quarterback and getting 95, I think I'll be better than that, at least in the low hundreds. But we'll see. As for dynasty leagues, though, I'll let you.
No, I don't want to do these ones. No, I don't like these. These are the only ones that I perform poorly in. And Jack's like, these are my favorite.
This is what I do.
Yeah, but in the DFB league is a standard league, so I won, thankfully, by 2 points, simply because it was a non-PPR league. Garrett Wilson had like 6 catches for 60 yards, but that's only 6 points in standard league, so I won by 2. So that was great. I won like 103 to 101. And Taco, 0-1 in half PPR league. I think I scored like 105, but played the dude who had Jaden Reed in the Bears defense, who scored like 125. So it's like, hey, what can you do?
Mr. your boy in DFB, who didn't make the playoffs last year, went out and put up 125 in standard scoring. So currently number 1 in the league. It's not going to stay that way. But Jaden Daniels, I finally may have fixed my quarterback woes of all this time. Joe Mixon, I didn't expect to be like legitimately used as he did. Diggs went out and got a touchdown after bombing for me the second half of last year. So all across the board felt really good. But yeah, every time I look at this league, I get so angry that it's standard, because it's like the only league I play in that's standard anymore. And I just want it to be half PPR. Like, I get if you're not full PPR, but me having Rashee Rice go off for like 7 receptions on Thursday night and then getting 10 points, I was like, that's not what you want. So I don't even know who I play this week. I don't expect to win, but I don't expect him to win most weeks. Yeah, I play Foster, who's probably the actual favorite. So that's not going to go well. As far as password is Taco, I did really well in that one also. Just barely outscoring the other one at 129, despite it being half PPR and despite it being a much better team and with 2 flexes. So that goes to show how the other league went. But did what I was supposed to do. In both leagues, I had people score 67 and 61 against me. So, I mean, it didn't take a lot to win, but at least it wasn't in doubt. So feeling it pretty good in that one. I expect to be a contender. Really, it's all just going to come down to the playoffs. But I like that, all my guys are actually signed to contracts and actually playing. So the only scary thing is Mark Andrews and what the heck's going on with him versus Isaiah Likely, because he's really my only tight end option with Njoku getting that scary injury. So we'll see on that as we go.
Yep.
Right. Quick little ad / drop it like it's hot section. Going to do our key waiver targets. We're not going to go a whole lot into like what our league specifically adds or drops. And obviously this week there's none because we just drafted. So we'll just try to do if we like either of us happens to see like a crazy bid or like add one in one of the leagues we're in, we can toss this in, but I'm not going to do like every ad drop for just Victoria's Secret. Yeah. That's silly. So Tyler, if you want quarterbacks and receivers or running backs and tight ends, I'll do the opposite and we can kind of trade off.
Yeah. I can take your quarterbacks and receivers here and jump in. The first few that we're looking at, individuals who are kind of in the high volume passing offenses. So someone like a Stafford or obviously a Baker as well. Tampa Bay is always going to turn around and throw the ball a whole bunch. Baker's captain check down. So Rashad White is going to continue to get his, but I think again, that efficiency is going to bite him. But for QB, if you're going streamer, Stafford against Arizona is obviously great this week. If you're looking to pick somebody up, Baker's great as well. I would have picked him in swimming upstream if I didn't pick him last week. Wasn't going to go back to back, but again, somebody like Geno as well is probably out there. And Sam Darnold, never bad as well. He's going to be kind of a game manager, but you can probably expect somewhere in that 14 to 17 range from him every week. So for QBs, those would probably be my top 3 for this week.
Yeah, I thought about I really think Darnold's going to be a guy that I pick as a streaming candidate a lot this year. I just went and looked and was like, oh yeah, 49ers, never mind. So for running backs, normally I'm going to try to keep this whole section to just like the 30-ish% and less, because most leagues that say they're 50% or more, it's not your league if you're in a serious league. So that being said, the fact that Jordan Mason was only rostered in 66% of the leagues when we knew CMC had injuries coming in is bananas. So just do a courtesy check out there. If you're in your leagues, go add him, because like I said, he might still be a factor even if CMC comes back long term. Other interesting ones, Jeff Wilson at only 1%, only because Mostert and Achane are both questionable. I know they've got Jalen Wright in there too, but being a rookie, they might just like lean on the Jeff Wilson veteran more. Tank Bigsby at only 23%. I didn't see this coming either as an ETN owner, but he had 12 carries for 73 yards, even with ETN active the whole game and no injury issues. So I don't know what happened. ETN got the touchdown, but he outproduced him big time. Alexander Madison, pains me to say this, he's only 18% rostered, as he should be, but he outsnaps Amir White 36-23, and he was actually used in the receiving game 4 for 46 and a touchdown. So didn't see that a lot as the Vikings. He couldn't catch anything or hot onto the ball, but maybe the Raiders saw something that nobody else saw coming. And then Justice Hill, sneaky, especially in PPR, but he is only 20% rostered. He had 6 catches for 52 yards total. Clearly the passing down back, they were taking Derrick Henry out every time it was that situation in Baltimore. And we all know Derrick Henry is getting older. He does miss time with injury sometimes, so it could be very sneaky if he were to go out and Justice Hill got all the work.
100% number one on that list for me is obviously Jordan Mason, but I expect in any relatively competitive league he's owned. But for me, second, 1,000% Justice Hill. They were banging the drum for him all off season and said, hey, he's going to be a big part of it. Derrick Henry's getting older, no question, and Justice Hill got all third down work. Yeah. Capable pass catcher, not as much as so yeah, that's where I'm going with that one. Wide receiver for me, not a whole lot. After week 1 last season, there was a few of the Pukas and things like that jumped out. There wasn't a lot of receivers that jumped out, but with some injuries and Puka going down, you can look at DeMarcus Robinson for the Rams. Greg Dortch seems like he's going to be kind of a staple for this Arizona offense. Thought it was going to be Michael Wilson, and he had an okay game as well, but at least Dortch in a potentially half PPR or PPR league, it's going to get you some 6 for 47 on 8 targets. They're probably going to be trailing in a lot of games, so could be useful for you in maybe a flex or a second flex. Allen Lazard, I mean, when you have a rapport with Aaron Rodgers, something's going to happen. Got the 2 touchdowns, one late, and the second one wasn't even from Aaron Rodgers. But he's going to be out there. He's going to play on 90% of snaps, so can't throw it to Garrett Wilson every time as much as he wants to. And then Xavier Legette, 31% owned, had 7 targets. Didn't do a whole lot with them, but nothing in that offense did go right. So we'll see how it goes. And again, they're going to be trailing a whole lot. So check if he's out there. Might be a usable maybe second flex for you down the road.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't go crazy on spending any of these guys. I think if you're the Puka,
I wouldn't either.
Go after Robinson, maybe heavier just because of that. But beyond that, I don't see any of them really long term. Lazard, like you said, one was in blowout mode, backup, garbage time, and then the other one was on a jumped off sides play where he just chucked it deep. So I think people are going to probably spend the most on Lazard this week, but I think it's going to be he comes back with like 2 for 11 next week and doesn't do anything. So I'd probably take the shot on Legette. He's got the least competition. Dortch has a lot of other mouths there, and I still believe in Michael Wilson, maybe. But yeah, I like Legette just as a rookie getting that kind of volume. So really quick, rounding it out, tight end wise, the Jordan Mason effect. I'm not going to normally talk about a guy this rostered, but Isaiah Likely at 58% owned. Crazy 9 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. Could have been 2 touchdowns on 12 targets this last week. He might very well be a factor. I think everybody only took him if Andrews is out like last year, but he might be just the most athletic option on the Ravens. So it could come at the expense of Zay Flowers, and maybe they just go 2 tight end guys all year, but we'll see. Juwan Johnson, 17%. He had a touchdown, but I more put this in there because Foster Moreau was out with a head injury. So I think Juwan was the tight end touchdown machine last year, and with Moreau out, who had a better day, this kind of clears the way for him a little bit. And then Colby Parkinson, my guy, 5%. I'd be adding him anywhere if you have tight end concerns, which not just because week 1 they all bombed, but like if you actually have tight end concerns or you punted the position, I'd be adding him. I think he's going to get helped way more than DeMarcus Robinson even does, and he already had 5 targets last week. So every week I'm going to try to put one of these in here. Jack's Pow pickup of the week. Ideally, I'm trying to pick somebody maybe not my like favorite to score the most, but somebody who like I think isn't being talked about enough, or just is the best value wise that you can get in most of your leagues. So like sub 30%. Tyler already pretty much talked about him, so I won't repeat it. But Justice Hill is my Pow of the week this week. I just think he's familiar in the system, especially in PPR, and his role is secured, unlike the rest of these guys who are only waiver worthy because of injuries for the most part. So, all right. Well, we'll cover any big ads next week, any ones that make us raise our eyebrows and say, wow. But for now, we'll go through some quick notable injuries. There were a lot for it only being week 1, so I'll go super fast here. I'll start with QBs and then Tyler can go running backs. But quarterback's the big one, Jordan Love, knee injury. He's not being sent to the IR, but it's expected to be 3 to 4 weeks. So that's going to be tough. I would kind of downgrade pretty much all Packers players. Maybe Josh Jacobs stays even just because he's going to get the volume still and they're going to lean on him. But it's not gonna be super pretty in the meantime. And then Russ, kind of surprised week 1 inactive for Denver, calf injury. It looks like they're already talking about him missing week 2. So roll out Justin Fields again.
Yeah, for running back, CMC is the obvious one, calf, and then that Achilles. We missed week 1. They're already talking about him missing week 2. So as a Vikings fan, I wouldn't hate it, but fantasy owners is obviously going to hate it. Achan is the other one. So I'm going to go with he probably plays on Thursday Night Football. So, but I think he'll be fine. But he's on there with an ankle injury. Mostert with a chest, same thing. And then Ken Walker for Seattle. He's got an abdomen injury. We haven't heard much about it, but I think he should be just fine for Sunday. Going into wide receivers, Puka Nacua, they're putting him on IR. So he's got a knee injury, and they're putting him on IR. So he's going to miss at least the next 4 games. T. Higgins, hamstring, missed week 1, but he's expected back week 2. So we'll see how it goes. Roma Dunze, knee. They're calling him week to week. So I think this could be a concern where we continue to see it linger throughout the next week, and I won't be surprised if he misses next week. Seemed like he was certainly more of a week-to-week than a day-to-day. And then Jordan Addison, same thing, ankle injury, high risk for re-injury. So again, calling him week-to-week. So same thing. I will not be surprised if we miss him week 2.
Tight ends wise, we've got Jake Ferguson, who has a bone bruise / a knee sprain. He probably will play this week, it sounds like, but if you have him, I would maybe make a pivot option, do that like Colby Parkinson, like we talked about. And then David Njoku had kind of a nasty looking ankle injury. Right now, he's just week to week. I would assume he's out maybe a couple weeks, but we don't really know much more at this point. So make contingency plans for those. And that's all we got. So rounded it out with some actual analysis instead of talking about our leagues and how great we are. But big news, we've got the draft likely returning next week, depending on how kind of our timing and stuff works out. So Tyler, I'm going to let you tell people, because I got a few in here. I'll just let you pick which one of those options we're doing next week, potentially.
Yeah, let's go with the best fictional gadgets.
I like it. All right, so we're going to do that. If anybody wants to get in on the action, either to hop in for a quick guest drafter and make things a little tougher for us, or if you just have some picks you want to tell us ahead of time, let us know. Hopefully you want to check this out. A lot of people have said that they missed that as the segment, so that's kind of the one that we like to have fun doing, but we want to hear from you. If you want to see it, if you want to just see more football stuff, let us know. But yeah, look for that next week. And again, back to weekly episodes. So we'll see, this is coming out on Wednesday morning, so we'll see you next Wednesday as well. But please like and comment. Give us some thoughts, maybe some start-sit tough questions we can answer before the week kicks off, or if you want to see like a discussion next week on anything like franchise or fantasy related, anything like that, team reviews, stuff like that. We all appreciate all of those just to give us more content versus making our own stuff up. Yeah, Tyler, what do you got that I didn't already cover there?
No, everything is great. I think, like I said, that's the fun stuff that we like to do. We like doing these podcasts, but the likes and comments and things like that are big for us. It gives us additional content to talk through. We love doing draft grades and things like that, so it's something that we talk about every year. If you guys want us to do that, absolutely love that. If you have a start-sit question for this week, I think that's something that we're potentially going to talk about and incorporate into a segment for us, because there's always those fringy individuals you never know. Yeah. So I think us getting something like that into it where it's more advice rather than just us reviewing all of our leagues, that's kind of the content you want. You don't care about what leagues we're in all the time. So we'll get more content related with some of those things. So I think that'll be fun in the future. Help you guys out. You guys are here likely for advice, not because you care how we did in our league. So we'll do some of those fun things and keep that going forward. So we shortened it up, obviously, a lot from last year. We're at like an hour and a half, and this one's at 53 minutes. So I'm loving this. So we're trying to keep it more succinct, and hopefully it makes it a little bit easier to listen. But we do appreciate it. Like I said, we've already got 2 new subs starting the year, so we're on that road to 150. So like, comment, subscribe, share it with whoever you want. As always, you got questions, though, feel free to send them our way. But until next time, Pod Squad, peace out.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Brotherly Ballers podcast. Check out more content on youtube.com/@thebrotherlyballers.